Hello again. At the beginning of the year, I set myself the challenge of doing at least 10,000 steps a day throughout January. I managed it with a fair amount of pacing by the bed last thing at night. And having managed it, I decided to try and continue that challenge for the rest of the year. Now that I'm having to shield, confined to the house and garden, it is a little bit more difficult than I had foreseen. But I'm still managing it so far. I'm having to be a little bit more creative, so pacing in front of the television or walking around the house while I'm on the phone. But so far, I've managed to do at least 10,000 steps a day. I do really miss going out for a walk in the countryside though, especially with the weather as lovely as it has been the last few days. One of the things I did last before shutting myself away was to walk around Pitsford Reservoir. It was a beautiful spring morning, and I'm really glad I made the time to do it. The loop around the reservoir is about 7 miles, the same distance we're told that Emmaus is from Jerusalem. I know from other trips around the reservoir with friends that you can certainly have a good long chat and put the world to rights as you walk. The Gospel passage for this week tells us that on the evening of that first Easter day, a couple of people were walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus, talking about all that had happened to Jesus. You can imagine how confused they must have felt. As they are walking and talking, Jesus joins them. But like Mary earlier in the morning, they don't recognise him. They have a long conversation with him, explaining what had happened to this Jesus person. And then he explains to them that the whole of Jewish scriptural history had predicted that what had happened to Jesus is what would happen to God's chosen one. Even though they don't recognise him, they obviously warm to him, and they invite him to stay with them and share their meal when they arrive in Emmaus that evening. It's only when he breaks the bread and gives thanks, as he did a few days earlier at Passover, that they realise who has been travelling with them. And then he disappears. I imagine as they walked, the pair were quite confused, grieving and scared. But we're told that as they spoke with Jesus and as he explained the scriptures to them, their hearts were warmed. You can sense the hope growing in them as the miles and time passed. And then the joy and that need to share with others what had happened when they realised that it was Jesus and that he really was alive again. At this time, when there is so much uncertainty, collective and individual grief, and many are scared about what the future holds for a number of different reasons, it's so important that we recognise and remember that Jesus is walking beside us. I find that it's at the times when I lose sight of Jesus that it all starts to get a little bit overwhelming. Remembering that Jesus walks with us really helps. There are so many ways to remind ourselves that Jesus is with us in this. And as we're all different, we'll each have different things that really help us to connect with him. The pair on the road to Emmaus found that Jesus helping them understand the scriptures reminded them of God's plans. Try to read something from the Bible each day. There are various resources I've already sent out, but there are loads of different options, different reading plans out there. If you want help with this, please do get in touch and I can chat through some of the different options with you. Listening to and maybe singing along with worship music can be a great way of connecting our hearts with God again. It doesn't matter if it's Handel, Fanny J. Crosby, Matt Redman or Lauren Daigle. The important thing is that music, that worship, connects us with Jesus. Praying, whether it's praying the Lord's Prayer, using some written prayers, praying for a loved one, or simply sitting in silence in God's presence. If you're creative, making a creative response to a Bible passage or hymn is a great way to reflectively focus on the fact that Jesus is with us. And just as the pair on the road to Emmaus experienced walking with Jesus outside, just enjoying the beauty of God's creation on a walk, or even looking out of your window, can remind us of God's goodness and his presence with us. That's just a few ideas, but have a think about what has helped you to connect with Jesus in the past. And maybe use this time to try some new ones as well. The important thing is that we connect with Jesus. To remember that he is with us. And as we do so, our hearts can be warmed and our hope can grow, just as it did with the couple on the road. And like them, let's be ready to share that hope with others in whatever ways we can. May God bless you.